90-day vagabonding journey through Southeast Asia. With no appointments in sight and only the present in mind, I went all in on the biggest adventure of my life so far. This trip is without a doubt the longest journey I've ever taken, and it will push me to my limits like never before. 12 weeks full of freedom, delicious Asian cuisine, wonderful people, and amazing places lie ahead. Along the way I give myself some well-deserved breaks and enjoy some of the sweetest spots these countries have to offer. Beaches and temples of Thailand to the waterfalls and mountains in Laos. And from the ancient structures in Cambodia to the vast and breathtaking landscapes of Vietnam. Join me as I make my way through 4 different countries, experiencing the ups and downs of the backpacking life again. The pains of tourist scams and crappy transportation, as well as the joys of pure lightheartedness and lonely beaches. So crack open a beer and let me take you with me on this trip full of adventures. Arriving in Bangkok, I took the S1 bus line into the heart of the city and checked into a room for the first nights. My travel mate Andy was supposed to arrive a few hours later, so I waited for him in the hostel lobby. Andy had been on a backpacking trip with some friends years ago as well, but since I could only cover some of the southern islands, he was keen on finding out what the north has to offer. So here we are, where my passion for backpacking started years ago. Finally back in the city of angels, finally back in Thailand. We got to know Manu from Switzerland and Steph from the Netherlands and joined them on the search for some delicious local food. We walked down Khao San Road for the first time in years, but jet-lagged as we were, we called it an early night and tried to re-energize for the exciting weeks lying ahead of us. Waking up refreshed the next morning, we were surprised by the rainy season which we yet had to adapt to. But still feeling the sense of exploration in us, we headed out into the city. Like the last time, and due to its proximity to the famous backpacker area around Khao San Road, we ended up at Wat Saket again. It is the perfect temple to start with and get used to the ambience of exploring sacred occasions again. Also considered the crown of Bangkok, the temple dates back to the time of Ayutthaya between 1350 and 1767. We had been to multiple major temples such as the Wat Po and the most famous ones at Chiang Mai on my last trip, so if you're interested in them, please check out my first series Traveling Thailand from 2017. Nevertheless, here are some interesting facts about Thailand. Thailand has a population of about 71.6 million people. The country has about 35,000 temples, and 1/7 of the entire population lives in Thailand's biggest city, Bangkok. The Buddhist calendar is 543 years ahead to the Gregorian one. In Thailand, it is the year 2566 right now. Local currency is the Thai baht with an exchange rate of 34 Thai bahts to $1. Back at the hostel, we joined some fellow backpackers to go to the riverfront of the Chao Phraya and take some shots of the majestic monument of Wat Arun in the sunset. When darkness fell, we decided to walk back and had some delicious street food at a local stall on the way. We teamed up with some more people and went to Khao San Road for our first night out. Cody, on his first ever trip leaving the United States, as well as Fabian and Paul from Germany, were in for the full Asian experience. No, not laughing gas, but scorpions. One of the bucket list items to do on Khao San Road for a lot of first-time visitors.
Cody's gonna eat it!
We strolled over Khao San Road some more and decided to head back home when the other half of us split to go into one of Bangkok's notorious nightclubs. The next morning, we had to pack our bags and pick up our train tickets for the evening at the Want2Go Asia office. Since it was pouring down again, we just chilled at the hostel and waited for our pickup. So, we drove to the main train station in Bangkok, Hua Lamphong, to catch the night train later this evening. Waiting on our train, it turned 6 PM, and so we got to spectate the happening of the national anthem being played out loud. We stocked up on some snacks for the upcoming ride and entered the train. It's an 11 to 13 hour train ride all the way up through the country to the city of Chiang Mai. Though the air condition is really cold most of the times and you should bring some long clothes for the night, the beds are quite comfy and the views in the morning reward you for all the suffering. Arriving at the train station in Chiang Mai, we were picked up by a familiar face. Afi. He was our host in the Borong guest house around 6 years ago, and he was more than happy to welcome us to his city again. He agreed to bring us all the way up to Levitate, a temple that had left an imprint on my memory like no other. Being at a historical place like this with a local comes with some great benefits. Afi tried his best to explain the complex connections between the different statues and which epoch they were created in.
Ah, it's a lotus.
This one is peaceful land already, not much already. Because Ayutthaya, that's one like for communication to another country.
Levitate is an active Buddhist temple dating back to the year 1383.
White elephant or royal elephant, they must to give to the king for long life of the king. But the monk, we have two levels, over 20 years and lower 20 years. Over 20 years, you can take too much too milk.
We spent some time together in the temple and enjoyed the views on Chiang Mai.
Maybe tomorrow you go to the highest mountain.
The surrounding area of around 21 square kilometers became a national park in 1981.
Jackfruit is merely same durian, but quite a bit different.
I like jackfruit more than durian.
Yes.
Leaving the temple, we walked past the cockfighting area.
This is the stadium?
You can make more bigger.
Okay. So they do cockfights here. I've seen them on television last time I was in Thailand.
After returning to the center of Chiang Mai, we dropped our bags in the hostel and went out to get some delicious northern Thai food.
Was trinkst du lieber? Singer? Leo?
A guy from the hostel wanted to visit a night market, and so we teamed up with Boris from Switzerland and went for some more delicious treats.
Wolltest du Meckes oder was? Richtig schön thailändisch. Krokodil? Ja, Skorpion hatten wir gestern erst. Nee, danke.
Mit der Schere. Ist so geil.
Schmeckt eins?
Schmeckt lecker, Digga.
Did you know, Asian people tend to park their motorbikes inside when they lock their shops in the evening.
Good job!
Der kauft jetzt ein Weed und dann fährt er wieder raus.
We went to the party district of Chiang Mai to have some beers together and enjoyed our evening in the city.
Und Andy?
We visited the reggae bar I had been 2 years ago. And returned to the hostel pretty hungry.
Ja, holen wir das noch Toasties oder was?
Nee, ich hab jetzt. Komm, es reicht.
Krass intensive Farben. Mixed Fruit Shake und Erdbeer.
Filling up on some vitamins the next morning, we explored the streets of Chiang Mai a little, and while getting lost, we ran into a site I was still pretty familiar with. Wat Chediluang, dating back to the 15th century, is the only one left of 3 former temples in the city center of Chiang Mai. Since Andy had not been to the north on his previous travels, he really soaked in all his new impressions of this overwhelming and fascinating country. We returned to the hostel quite late, but to our surprise the bar was still crowded to the last seat. So we had a last beer for the night in great expectations of the upcoming day. "762 curves. There are even shirts with it." That's the best way to describe the road to Pai. It's a scenic ride you can take on a scooter as well as one of the frequent local minivans. We had pre-booked the newly opened Revolution hostel, which is located directly at the riverfront.
Da stand mal eine Bambusbrücke.
With this as our base, we headed out to the cozy town of Pai, and it wasn't long until our stomachs were craving some local food again. Since Pai is a pretty small town, you don't really need a scooter to get around if you just want to experience life within the town boundaries, which means dining, chilling, bars and relaxation.
So geiler frischender Regen. Andy hat gekocht. Es gibt Bier.
When we were tired, we walked our way back to the hostel through the famous bar street. Since we stayed on the other side of the town this time, it was just walking distance to the White Buddha.
Da oben ist der Buddha.
A sight I had missed out on the last time I was here, and so we were curious enough to walk our way up to see it from close up with our own eyes.
Ja, warm, ja.
Hat geregnet.
Arriving at the top, we were soaked in our own sweat and relaxed for a while before making our way back down into the town center. With the weather being a permanent mixture of sunshine and clouds with rain, we wanted to go and see if the circus school in Pai had survived the pandemic. And yes, it still exists.
unser neuer Hunde-Buddy.
Wir sind zu viert.
But due to the broken bridge at the end of the walking street, we had to make our way all around the town of Pai. So when we arrived back in town, it was already dark and we went to the walking street to grab some food and drinks.
Ne?
We joined the people at our hostel, but since it was Buddha Day today, no alcohol was being sold until midnight. But it wouldn't be Thailand if there wasn't a way around it, and so we enjoyed some secret agent slushies with the other backpackers. With the clock striking midnight and Buddha Day ending, we expected the bars to reopen and went out to see it for ourselves.
Ein Pai steppt der Bär, Alter.
Da kommt der Räuber gleich weitergehen.
Dennis ist schuld.
Warum?
Wie, warum? Du wolltest unbedingt, nein.
Das ist nicht mehr richtig scheiße.
Findest du?
Also, so läuft das hier so, ne?
Aber was soll er machen? Bis er die Chili-Soße erwischt, die will er, glaube ich, nicht haben.
And so we had no other choice than to return to the hostel and call it a night. The hostel offered some tubing the next day and we didn't hesitate to sign up for it. But due to the weather being pretty bad the last days, the river was a little too wild and high for the regular tubing experience.
Jetzt denken sie auch, die scheiß Tour
In der Kloake, so weißt du.
So they tied all the tubes together to one big pile. We were joined by a bunch of people we got to know at the hostel last night, Max and Christina from Austria, as well as Bree from the UK and Lauren from Canada, and Dennis was part of the fun again as well. We enjoyed floating down the river, but before we really felt comfortable in the tubes, the ride was already over again. Picked up by a pickup, we were brought to a house in the rice fields where they offered beer and snacks and had a stereo speaker system blasting some mainstream tunes. But since we were the only few people doing the tubing today, it was more of a wait to get back into town than a big rampant party. We used the time to take some pictures and came up with some ideas to waste the time at the worn-out volleyball court until being picked up. Dennis and Bree engaged in a handstand competition.
No excuses.
Much better form.
Okay. Here's the judge.
And we played some beer pong against the Austrian couple.
Trick shot. Show us your best shot, Bree.
Back at the hostel in the evening hours, the games continued and were spiced up a little more by some drinks and balloons at the hostel bar. We decided to head back into town and check out some of the bars with live music. And so we sat down in the spirit bar and talked and drank the night away. On the way back, I stumbled into the punk rock bar we had a blast in 6 years ago, which had moved within town.
Die neue Blabla-Bar. Leider geschlossen.
We go further south, hoping for the weather to improve. And we will be joined by an old companion for a while, hopping between the islands in the Andaman Sea. So tune in and experience these moments together with us in the next episode of Vagabond.